Welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today we're plunging into, well, a truly extraordinary journey. It's one that really blurs the lines between life, death, and the very essence of existence itself.
Mm-hmm.
Our main source for this deep dive is a fascinating personal account. It's called The Autobiography of a Soul, and it's written by Abhishek Mishra.
Yeah, this isn't, just any book. It's described as a really raw, unfiltered look at one man's spiritual and psychological struggles.
Right.
And these struggles lead him to this, well, very unlikely friendship with an ancient spirit named Kalsutra.
An ancient spirit, wow.
Yeah. So our mission today really is to try and extract the profound insights from his experiences to help you, our listener, understand what it means to be maybe better informed about these mysteries that often lie just kind of beyond our everyday perceptions.
Expect some aha moments, perhaps.
I think so, yeah. Definitely some food for thought.
Okay, so let's unpack this. You, our listener, actually shared this material with us, and it really promises to take us on this unique quest. We're talking self-discovery, karma, liberation.
All the big ones.
Exactly. And all told through this deeply personal lens. So our story kicks off in Hazaribagh, India. We meet Abhishek Mishra. He's the son of a renowned astrologer.
Right. So he grew up immersed in these ancient texts. Astrology, sure, but also the Vedas, the foundational scriptures, and the Puranas, which are full of these epic narratives, gods, sagas, that kind of thing.
So a very rich background. But despite all this, he finds himself in a state of, well, profound mental distress.
Yeah, the sources say very worrisome inner turmoil. It really pushed him towards needing solitude. Desperately, it sounds like.
And this distress, it leads him to seek refuge near the Konar River. It becomes like a daily ritual for him.
Exactly. To escape what he calls the crowd and noise of his life. And it's there, under a vidul tree, that he encounters something. Well, completely unexpected.
Which is
an ancient spirit. This spirit, who he later finds out is called Kalsutra, was apparently once human.
Okay, that's quite the setup for a friendship. But I have to ask, how does that even work? A spirit? How does this connection actually manifest? What can a spirit do for someone feeling that kind of despair?
That's a really good question, because it's not your typical ghost story intervention,
Right. No chains rattling.
No, none of that. What's fascinating is that Kalsutra seems to take this really compassionate interest in Abhishek's worries. He senses the pain, offers understanding, not judgment.
So it's more of an emotional, maybe psychological connection?
Precisely. Their connection grows into this unique friendship, really transcending the boundary between living and dead. Abhishek, feeling completely friendless, actually asks the spirit, "Will you be my friend?"
And spirit says?
Kalsutra agrees readily. And it's through this dialogue, this growing bond, that the story starts digging into these huge questions: soul, karma, liberation.
And the name? Kalsutra.
Yeah, it literally means bound by time. And Kalsutra even hints, that the mystery of his name will become clear later on. It's an incredibly deep bond they form, especially when Kalsutra admits that Abhishek's presence actually changed his existence as a spirit too, cured his own centuries-long loneliness.
Wow. So it's a two-way street. It really sets the stage for this narrative where, yeah, a man and a spirit become confidants, exploring different worlds. Makes you wonder what kind of real connection can exist between the living and the departed. Okay, so Abhishek starts thinking about writing his autobiography, but he hits this huge dilemma, right? Should he write his raw, unfiltered truth, or should he write what society expects him to?
Exactly. And it's a struggle many people face, I think, that tension between being authentic and, how people see you.
Sure.
But for Abhishek, it becomes incredibly personal, almost paralyzing, actually.
And Kalsutra weighs in on this.
He does, offers some pretty critical advice. He tells Abhishek, look, the purpose of an autobiography is to reveal your reality, not to cater to what others think.
Makes sense.
He warns him, people often judge, they criticize, they see faults in others while thinking they're wise, and everyone else is a fool. His advice is quite sharp. Write what comes from the heart, not the mind.
Why the heart?
Because, Kalsutra explains, the heart speaks truth, while the mind, well, the mind is often full of deceit, calculation.
That's a powerful conversation. And it leads to a major revelation, doesn't it?
It does. Abhishek opens up about the immense pain of being constantly misunderstood, even by his own family, and how this pushed him to an incredibly dark place.
The suicide attempt.
Yes. He tells Kalsutra he tried, he failed, and that failure just led to more misunderstanding, more isolation.
And Kalsutra's reaction is intense, given his own past.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He confesses his own suicide centuries ago,
Hmm.
and now he's terrified Abhishek might follow that same path.
So what does this tell us about spirits and their connection to human suffering, especially this idea of untimely death?
Yeah, what are the consequences from the spirit's perspective? It reveals this profound, almost cyclical consequence. Kalsutra, apparently deeply moved, but also angered by Abhishek's story, shares this crucial piece of information. Those who die an untimely death, like by suicide, they endure immense suffering.
They don't just move on.
No. According to this account, they become restless, wandering spirits. The text calls them prets. They're deprived of guidance, bound by unfulfilled desires. They're incomplete karma, just mental torment. They can't find peace, can't find the path to liberation.
And Kalsutra himself is one of these.
He confesses he is. He committed suicide when he was human, and it trapped him in this state for centuries. He actually saw Abhishek's arrival by the river as a potential way out for himself, a path to his own liberation.
Wow.
But now he fears Abhishek is heading down that same dead end.
The parallels are chilling. What were the actual details of Abhishek's attempt, the ones that hit Kalsutra so hard?
They're quite stark. It happened on his 12th wedding anniversary. He spoke to his wife, went to sleep. The next morning, which was his mother's birthday.
Oh, no.
Yeah. He touched her feet, paid his respects one last time, he says, and then consumed 85 sleeping pills.
85.
He spent 3 days in a coma, his condition worsening, and eventually he was declared mentally unwell and sent to a mental hospital.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How deeply misunderstanding and misperception can crush someone's will to live.
And the potential unseen consequences in that other realm, the spirit world, it's profound.
So Abhishek ends up in this mental hospital, and it's not quite the movie stereotype. You mentioned he got some special treatment.
Yeah, apparently thanks to a state official. His brother brought him homemade meals every day, traveling 20 kilometers. His cousin stayed with him for a whole month without complaint.
So some support there, despite everything.
Right. He felt deeply indebted to them. But how did this environment, maybe unexpectedly, give him a new perspective?
Yeah, what did he learn there? Surrounded by others in distress.
Well, it became this kind of crucible of insight for him. Despite the trauma, it offered this unique window into humanity. He's observing other patients. Some seemed incredibly rational, even wise one moment, and then exhibited really erratic behavior the next. It just blurred all the lines between sanity and madness for him.
Made him question who was really mentally ill.
Exactly. He mentioned how their profound, wise statements could just flip into uncontrolled actions. It made it hard to tell what was genuine illness and what wasn't.
There's that one story that really stands out about the old man.
Oh, yeah, that's powerful. He met an old man who'd been put in the hospital by his own son 22 years earlier. The son then sold the family home.
Terrible.
But this old man, instead of being consumed by bitterness, found peace and purpose by serving others in the hospital. He told Abhishek, "Here, I now have many sons."
Wow. That's an incredible lesson in transforming adversity, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it raises that question for all of us, right?
Yeah.
What can we learn about humanity, compassion, resilience from people society often just labels as mad? Abhishek noticed there was no discrimination among the patients, no religious divides. He described them as feeling pure and close to God, free from deceit, living by their own kind of code, outside societal norms.
But it wasn't all peaceful observation. He had his own challenges there too, the rebellion.
Right. He kind of inadvertently became a leader, started distributing bread and biscuits, encouraged others to complain about the food quality to the management.
And how did that go down?
Well, he got identified as the ringleader and ended up getting a sedative injection for his trouble.
Ouch.
But maybe the most shocking betrayal, he says, was discovering his own cousin had registered him incorrectly as an alcoholic.
What? Why?
The cousin claimed it was for his well-being, maybe to explain his state or get certain treatment. It's not entirely clear. But for Abhishek, it felt like a deep betrayal.
Understandably. So how did all this affect him personally?
These events, they were traumatic, no doubt. They forced him to confront his own mental state. He describes oscillating between laughter, tears, fear, feeling like he was losing control. But ultimately, he made a conscious decision. He decided he had to regain control to stabilize his mind. And that internal resolve, that shift, eventually led to his discharge.
Forever changed, I imagine.
Definitely. Changed by the insights he gained in that unlikely place, Makes you wonder how much our own ideas of normal might blind us sometimes.
Okay, so Abhishek is out of the hospital, back talking with Kal Sutra. He reflects on how he's changed.
Yeah, he feels happier, sees people differently. He realizes that his earlier suffering was largely due to what he calls incomplete knowledge.
Right. He hadn't understood the full picture.
Exactly. And now he credits this whole difficult journey with helping him find answers within himself, finding that path to peace internally.
And what's really striking here is Kal Sutra's reaction to Abhishek finding peace.
It really is, isn't it? Kal Sutra confesses he doesn't really desire liberation anymore.
What? After centuries?
Yeah. He says he values Abhishek's friendship more than his own freedom. He's afraid of losing the companionship that finally cured his own deep loneliness as a spirit.
That shows incredible emotional depth for a spirit. Connection trumping liberation.
It's a powerful statement about their bond, definitely.
So Abhishek then explains the root cause, he believes, for his extreme actions, the suicide attempts, the hospitalization. It lies in two powerful dreams he had.
Right. These dreams are key. The first one features a sage. Abhishek asks the sage, "What is the greatest truth?" And the sage replies, "It's not death itself, but the cause behind things."
Cause?
Yes, and this sends Abhishek on this obsessive quest to find the cause of everything. His life becomes this confusing puzzle he can't solve.
Which leads to a discussion about dreams themselves, especially for spirits.
Exactly. Kal Sutra reveals something fascinating. He says spirits like him, these prets, are essentially prisoners of the past. They can't dream of the future, they just constantly relive old experiences.
So they dream backwards, in a way.
Kind of. They dream of what they left behind, especially loved ones. And Kal Sutra says their duty, in a sense, is to try and influence their living relatives away from wrong paths. Well, this is linked to their own liberation. It often manifests, he says, as Pitru dosha, or pret dosha in families.
Ancestral afflictions, stuff you hear about in astrology sometimes.
Precisely. Disturbances believed to be caused by these unfulfilled spirits, creating problems for the living until certain things are done, certain understandings are reached.
That puts a whole different spin on family karma, doesn't it?
It does. And Kal Sutra offers some wisdom for the living based on this.
Like what?
Things like self-reflection, distancing yourself from people who disrespect parents, or dharma, which is like righteous conduct, moral duty,
Right.
acting mindfully, showing compassion to all beings. He says this is true wealth, and our ancestors' liberation actually depends on us living righteously and remembering them sometimes.
Wow. Heavy stuff. Okay, then the second dream.
The second dream is even more intense. Abhishek dreams of his own funeral,
Whoa.
and it's happening at the very Ghat, the riverside cremation ground, where he now sits talking with Kal Sutra.
That's specific.
Very. He sees his own dead body, his family grieving, and then he sees this shadowy form trying to get back into his body.
Creepy.
Yeah. And he hears people discussing his death, assigning all sorts of reasons, and then just moving on with their lives. The stark reality of it.
And the sage appears again?
The sage from the first dream reappears. Abhishek asks him, "Who am I?" The body is burned, the soul is standing right there.
And the answer?
The sage's reply is incredibly impactful. "You are karma."
Not the soul, not the body. Karma.
The body is perishable, the sage says. The soul goes to the supreme being or becomes a ghost based on the body's karma. But karma remains here. Karma is the identity of humans.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot to unpack.
It's a huge revelation. Kal Sutra interprets it as this stark warning about how deeply significant karma is, its impact during life, after death, and the absolute need to rectify it.
And the shadow trying to get back in the body.
Abhishek suddenly understands its hatred. His own negative karma, his actions, had ruined that shadow's chance at liberation somehow. And he also gets that the fear of death belongs to the soul, not the body. The body's just temporary.
It really makes you think how much of our reality is shaped by our subconscious, by these deep karmic patterns.
And how this ancient wisdom might apply to our modern struggles with finding purpose, dealing with consequences, those invisible threads connecting actions to destiny.
So this leads Abhishek to grapple with a really fundamental question. Who actually performs karma? Is it the body doing the actions or the soul, the essence within?
Yeah, and he challenges Kal Sutra on this because Kal Sutra, even as a spirit, is clearly still bound by karma. He can't escape its effects.
So what's Kal Sutra's initial explanation?
He talks about this intricate relationship. The soul directs, the body acts. He says the soul, the Atma, that essential divine spark within, is inherently pure. But our actions in the world, our earthly karma, create this kind of covering around it, which affects its purity. So initially he says, yeah, the soul is responsible for good or bad karma.
But Abhishek isn't fully satisfied with that, is he? He has another breakthrough.
He does, a really profound one. He introduces the concept of Vivek,
Vivek, what's that?
conscience, or maybe free will, moral intelligence. He suggests that God put Vivek in humans, but made it free from direct divine control,
Why?
so that humans would be truly responsible for their own actions. Think about it. Without that free will, there'd be no real concept of dharma or akarma, right action or wrong action.
No sin, no virtue?
Exactly. No heaven, no hell. The whole system of cosmic justice would be meaningless if we weren't freely choosing.
Okay, I see. So how does this change the understanding of karma and the soul?
It totally reframes accountability. Kal Sutra has this realization. The pure Atma, the soul itself, isn't guilty. It becomes a pret, that suffering, restless spirit, because it failed in its duty to guide or control Vivek, the conscience.
Ah, so the soul's job is to guide the conscience.
Yes, that's its duty, given by the Supreme Being, according to this insight. When the soul just becomes a mute spectator, while the conscience makes wrong choices, driven by ego or ignorance.
Then the soul gets trapped, its path to liberation is blocked.
Exactly. The curse of innocent suffering caused by Vivek's unchecked actions is what binds the otherwise pure soul.
That's a really deep thought. Our conscience, shaped by our upbringing, culture, education, environment, it can lead us astray, create divisions, cause spiritual decline.
And the choices made by this free-willed conscience are what ultimately determine the soul's fate, its journey through these karmic cycles.
So how do you purify things then, if it's not just about rituals?
The path to purification, according to this, isn't just rituals alone. It's through experiencing the consequences of karma, sometimes through cycles of reincarnation.
To repay debts, balance the books.
To repay debts, balance the karmic ledger, yes. It implies that suffering isn't just random, it's a consequence, a way of learning and resolving past actions.
So for us, listening to this, it's not just spiritual theory. It reframes how we might view hardship.
I think so. Instead of seeing suffering as just arbitrary or unfair, it invites you to consider a deeper pattern, cause and effect, encourages self-reflection on our choices and their ripples.
It's a call to be really aware of our conscience, or Vivek.
Yeah, if our conscience is truly free, how does that redefine our personal responsibility for our actions, our destiny? It's a big question.
Okay, so all this discussion helps clarify concepts like Swarg and Narak, heaven and hell. They aren't physical places in this view.
No, more like states of being. Swarg, or heaven, represents the soul achieving completeness, merging back with the Supreme Being, finally free from all these karmic cycles. That's true liberation, or moksha.
And Narak, hell.
That's the state of being bound. When a soul hasn't cleared its karmic debts, hasn't fulfilled its purpose, it's forced to repeatedly take birth, experience suffering, basically work through unfinished business.
So reincarnation is like the mechanism for resolving karma.
Exactly. A mechanism for the soul to repay its dues and complete its journey towards that ultimate liberation.
Right. So with all this understanding, Kal Sutra then makes this really startling declaration.
Yeah, it's quite something. He says he's actually scared of reincarnation now. And instead of seeking moksha, liberation.
Which you'd think would be the goal after centuries.
Right. He expresses this desire for either eternal companionship with Abhishek or moksha. He seems torn because he deeply values the friendship that ended his loneliness. He fears losing that connection.
So what does Abhishek say to that?
Well, Abhishek, with his newfound understanding, reassures Kal Sutra. He tells him that by grasping these complex mysteries, life, death, karma, conscience, Kal Sutra has actually become worthy of moksha.
Because understanding is the key.
Understanding the whole cycle seems to be the prerequisite for liberation, yes. Comprehending its purpose.
But Abhishek also acknowledges the depth of their friendship.
He does. He says something really profound. That a soul's ultimate decision should come from its deepest desire. Even if moksha is the theoretical end goal, if a soul values a relationship and emotion more deeply at that point,
It has the right to choose that path.
it has the complete right to choose that path. It shows the immense power of connection that it can even potentially outweigh the drive for ultimate spiritual freedom.
And what does Kal Sutra choose?
Understanding his own heart, his own desire, he prays to the Supreme Being. Not for immediate moksha, but to be allowed to stay with Abhishek as his companion until Abhishek's own final time comes.
Wow, that's quite an ending to their dialogue, a testament to that incredible bond they formed.
Absolutely. It illustrates that maybe love, friendship, connection. These things can transcend even the highest spiritual aspirations.
Outro. Well, this deep dive into Abhishek Mishra's journey and this really unique friendship with Kal Sutra, it's been quite an extraordinary exploration, hasn't it, of the human condition and maybe the spirit condition too.
It really has.
Yeah.
We've touched on some incredibly profound insights. Self-discovery, karma, liberation, that complex dance between conscience, soul, destiny.
Yeah.
What really stands out for me is that idea that suffering isn't just random. It's presented as a consequence, a part of a larger pattern.
And that lessons can come from the most unexpected places.
Exactly. Even in the most unusual relationships, like between a man and a spirit, you can find these deep lessons and connections. Abhishek's transformation from that point of suicidal despair to this profound understanding of life,
Guided by a ghost, essentially.
guided by a spirit who was once human. Yeah. It's remarkable. Speaks volumes about the power of unexpected mentorship, maybe.
So, what does this all mean for you listening? In a world that's often so obsessed with achieving goals, getting ahead, what if ultimate freedom isn't just about what we get?
Mm-hmm. What if it lies more in the connections we choose to cherish, the understanding we cultivate inside ourselves?
Yeah. This deep dive kind of reminds us that maybe the most valuable journey isn't outward, but inward. The journey of understanding, of compassion, of the choices we make.
Well, not just for ourselves, but for everyone, seen and unseen, who's part of our story.
So maybe the final thought is this. What connections in your life, perhaps overlooked ones, might hold the key to an unexpected kind of liberation, or maybe just a profound new understanding you weren't expecting? Something to think about.